Welcome. We are live now. That's it. A few things I'm cleaning up first, though. Gonna let people know stuff's happening. There we go. Pop into Discord. Slack. There's so many things to always like let people know about. Suppose I should automate this. Okay, I have to quit Slack now. Discord, if you like Discord, there are links to my Discord channel in the description of my YouTube videos and stuff. So, got a few more things to set up. Thanks, Martin. This is a, oh, my mic's kind of in the way, a Moonlander right here. Moonlander. Do I have web? There we go, better. So what do I need to do? Before I get going, I need to make sure that I just got to notice that my payment for my Stream Deck didn't go through. So, and I want a Stream Deck because it would make this easier. Instead of clicking buttons, I can program them. So let me just double check what's in the Visa debit account. Not quite enough. Okay, so it is to put in some more money. Let's do that. I'll update my payment and then we'll start really get going with recording today. Direct transfer. There we go. That should work now. Let's go back to the account and make sure. I already see it on my. Cool. Let's check that Amazon payment and then let's get going. Amazon payment declined. I was hoping to have it before I even started today, but clearly I don't. Revise payment method. Continue with the same payment method. It says it's been updated, so hopefully I'll have a 32-key Stream Deck coming soon. Still says they have a, well, they're not supposed to tell me until it ships, so, or charge me. So assuming they tried to ship it today, they're going to, and they realized, hey, there's not quite enough money there. I don't like this eCam overlay. There we go, kill that. It's in my way. What kind of mechanical keyboard? I just said this, Michael. You weren't here yet. It is a Moonlander. Here you go. My mic's in the way. Moonlander with oh, what switches are they again? Peel it off. Brown switch. I think it's the Kale brown switches. I actually have a bag of Kale box silver switches. on a shelf back there to switch over, which I will probably do streaming at some point after I do my regular recording. Keeker on K3 is what you have, eh? I've got a, just also turning off all my work stuff that I don't need now. I have a K2 in the back behind me. You see it? Oh. There. K2 with cherry brown switches back there. And they don't even have a mute. Do I have a quick mute? I don't. No sound right there. There you go. Which one is the K3? I don't even know. Keychron K3. No, it's that low profile one. Yeah, that one just doesn't do it for me. But if it does it for you, go for it. I'm happy with it. It's got the hot swappable switches. So yeah, you could do just like I would. It has the media keys. Yeah, so I've done a review on the Moonlander. Let me go back here. So I actually do have media keys. I'll just move my mic a little bit so you can see. If I hold this right here, you can see it color changes. And I have like volume up and play and pause, and I have them all over here. So that's actually why I chose the Moonlander, because I wanted it, because it had those programmable stuff. So I like it like that. My K2 has media keys as well. I think it's a K2. I want to check. Let me tell. I can probably tell from looking. K2. Yeah, it's a 60%. I think that's the one I have. Pretty sure that's the one I have. Yeah, the slimmer. I some people like the slimmer keyboard. I'm happy with the chunky one. I actually really like the full wrist rest and the ergo stuff. And the other keyboard I have over here, I'm not sure if you can hear that, is the Pro 2 wireless with silver switches in it, which I really like as well. Yes, Preben, the mechanical keyboard is not necessarily colleague friendly. You can get silent switches, but I've never tried them. Like, I'm just here in my office by myself, so I can be as loud as I want. And nobody can do anything about it, because it's just me. All right, my kind of set up. I should be able to today. Let me get this set up now. Be even able to share and stream from my iPad if people want to see stuff, how I do stuff on my iPad later. I gotta organize my desk. Too many things going on right now. What we're going to do today is talk about, yeah, it's totally possible to hook up a USB keyboard to the iPad. That's what I have right now with my Pro 2. It's actually hooked up to a Stego hub, and then it's USB in. Can I show you? Maybe, sort of. I can sort of maybe show you. Let me see. I'll pull my iPad over. So it would actually normally be, farther over, but then, oh, can I get an angle on this? Oh, you can see the keyboard right here. Plugged in, my iPad's up on a Visa stand, and I have, trackpad over here. Right there, trackpad. So I'm gonna move it over so I can, stream from it too, but I would normally actually sit farther over at my desk if I'm working on my iPad stuff, but I should be able today, just to go from here. I just swap these cables around. I tested it this weekend. I did a bunch of testing and USB 4, Thunderbolt 4 stuff. Oh, there we go. This should show up as an output. Yeah, there it is. So now I can go like that. You can see my daughter. I'll turn on the Bluetoothness. Should be on 2, I think. So this is why I actually went wired on my keyboards more often, because I was just having trouble with it even hooking up to my iPad at all. But unfortunately, I can't actually take it and do, it's still not hooking up. 1. I can actually take the hub out port on my what is it, on my Stego hub. Going hub out doesn't actually do the and Pro 2. Oh, it says P1, so it should be on P1 then. There we go, program 1. See, it's not connecting though. That is a problem. Let me just, oh, there you go, now we're connected. So you go, so I should be able to stream from my iPad later for research stuff, because that's actually normally how I would do it. Oh, I bring this over a bit more. It's normally how I would actually do it, so. We can do that later, but I'll just slide the keyboard a bit away for now. Whoa. It's like freaking out on me. That's super weird. I've never seen the keyboard do this. I'll show you, because you can see it. Like, that is not flicker from the camera. That is actually what it's doing. Well, it's still working, so we'll just leave it. That's super weird. I really like my M Pro 2. Not a big fan of that though. If I go down to, oh, it's still doing it. I must hit some keyboard command to like switch it. I forget what they are though. Okay, so let me come over here and we'll set up my drafts. 3. All right, first thing I need to do is go get the headphones I'm going to talk about. 1 second. So I'm going to talk about some sport headphones. Oh, you know what else I should get? One more thing. The bags representing all of the dead Jaybird headphones I have that I've continued to purchase for some unknown reason, because they keep dying on me. So weird. That flicker is weird. I don't know why that keyboard's doing that. Okay, first thing I'm going to talk about is the Jaybird, not the Jaybird, the dead Jaybirds versus the Vanco X200 headphones. So that's these, what they are, what they do, why I got them. And then we're going to talk about a book called The Fringe Hours. Yeah, and then you'll see these videos up on YouTube a little later once I actually, finish editing. I have some B-roll I shot this morning during a run of these headphones here. So, cool. I guess let's get going. Let me write down the time code in that right here, so I just know. I am at, oh, where's the time? 13 minutes. 13. Oh, cool. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about headphones. These ones in particular, the Vanco X200 Sport Bluetooth headphones. I'll tell you why we're going to do that. Because I have had 1, 2, 3, I don't even know where the rest of those headphones are. I think that's just Apple Pencil tips now. Yep, Apple Pencil accessories. 3, 4 dead Jaybird headphones. They're supposed to be the best. The Jaybird ones is like, oh, do your sports and do all this stuff. This is how many ones I have that have just busted on me. All of them within a year. I think these 3 I actually went through Jaybird multiple times, like 5, 6, 7 times, and said, hey, this is broken. And they kept saying, sure, it is. And they kept sending me new ones, and then I just gave up. So let's talk about the Vanco X200 wireless earbuds, why I got them, why I like them, and whether you should get them as well. Buckle up. All right. So the Vanco X200 Bluetooth headphones, they are, unlike some of the Jaybirds, let me grab a pair here. out of my stash of busted Jaybird headphones. So these ones all have a charger, and then this kind of wraps around the back of your head. It goes in your ears. So unlike these, all of those are similar to that. Some of them have an extra battery that you can charge separately from the headphone that you just snap onto the headphone. Some of them don't. Some of them, like that one I just showed you, I don't even remember. These are maybe the Terra Pros. Don't. They just have this. This is the whole thing. So these are actually separate. As individual buds go in your ear. I got headphones in, so I'm not going to put them in right now. And the reason I got these is because unlike the Jaybirds over there, which are IPX7, these are IPX8 because every single pair of those Jaybird headphones is broken. These ones broke on the treadmill. I was running, and I guess I'm sweaty, and suddenly my YouTube videos just started skipping ahead every like 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, just kept skipping and skipping and skipping and skipping and skipping. And I brought them in, I let them dry off, like, because that's important to let them dry off really well. And then I went to charge them, doesn't charge at all. So this is what I think the weakness is, these pogo pins. Just died on me again. And Jaybird said, hey, we'll warranty those online. And I said, okay. And I looked it up, and I have to call on like their time zones and all this stuff. They used to be able to do it online. That's how I warrantied these and these and these. I just got online with them and said, hey, this is broken. And by the 5th warranty, I knew exactly what to say to just not have to talk to support forever about what was wrong with my headphones. And they sent me new ones multiple times. So these are the old. So these ones, in theory, you can charge this battery separately and just snap it on. And so you could like charge it while you're running and then pop it back out. And then use your headphones longer. If it actually worked. Pogo pins died. Again, just wouldn't make a connection. So what do I think of these? These are okay. IPX8, they've lasted me 3 months through some heavy rain out in BC here, through some sweaty treadmill runs, through and just reasonably well. Now, as far as their connectivity, they do connect to my iPad to 2 devices, although I do have to shut off the Bluetooth on my iPhone and then turn it back on my iPad to really make it work. Which is less than ideal. It feels a little older compared to, say, the Jaybirds. They would just connect to either one and I could just go off with it and that'd be fine. As far as volume, they do have volume. So there's your touch pads on here. And with the touch pads, I have to like hold one ear and you hold it for a couple seconds and then it starts going volume up. This ear is volume down. Tapping either ear gives you, the volume goes down. Sorry, tapping either ear stops it, plays and pauses it. There's also like double and triple tap stuff for like skip ahead 30 seconds. And it works well. I think the touchpads are okay. The biggest thing I find is that when I'm cycling, especially in the cold weather, I'll actually wear a cap that pins my ears down, just kind of pins them back like this. And just that change in what my ears do actually makes these want to fall out. So I got to adjust them constantly. And then most of the gloves I have a bit of thread in them or a bit of something that allows it to activate the touchpads, which means I'm continually touching them and turning them off. I've also found when I was running and I had like a headband on, because again, it was cold enough to just, I don't like cold ears. That's one of the things. I'll walk around in shorts, but I do not like cold ears. So the touchpads on here, I like took off my ear thing, put it back on because it had needed adjustment, and it has enough sweat in it, enough like stuff in it that it made an electrical connection and just kept going. The volume just kept going down, 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 which sucked. That's probably my biggest knock against it. As far as battery life, it's got tons of battery life. I've had them out on 4, 5, 6 hours things, totally fine. This battery case here has 20 hours. I think I've charged it once in 3 months. And if I open it up, you can see it's at 44% still. I usually work out, I think I did 51 hours in January, something over 50 in February. March was like 40 something, and I think I was 40 something in April this month. It'll be over 40 again. So I've used them lots. They seem to fit well underneath the ski helmet as well. They don't, even though the ski helmet pushes on your head a little bit just to fit properly, totally fine. So I guess the big question is, should you get these? I actually think that these are a much better price. So let me look that up again right here. On the wrong screen. Of course it's on the wrong screen. So on Amazon.com, these are the Vanco X200. Are they not going to show up? Yeah, there you go, X200. They're $49. For $49 versus $200. So these lasted me about 6 months at $200. $49, if it lasts me 6 months, I still got 2 years. Totally worth it. So I'm going to say thumbs up on these for now. I do kind of wish that there was like a tie at the back so that as I'm doing bushwhacking, other stuff like that, they can't just fall out. But They don't have that. Again, the touch controls are only okay. They're only okay, but that's it. Otherwise, I'm going to say recommended product so far, and we'll see. I'll come back to you, in 6 months if they died again. If I lost yet another set of headphones. But I don't think I'm going to be buying Jaybirds again. Kind of no matter what. Like, I keep trying them because I see them on sale and thinking, oh, maybe they've got it better now. And the answer is no. The only pair that's really lasted that was actually really good was the Jaybird Blue Bud X1s. That's what I called them at the time. There was Blue Buds when I got them, and they lasted me like 6 years, no problems, with the first liquid Liquipel coating, and they lasted my wife for like 5 or 6 years. My wife actually has a set of these ones here, the Terra Pros, and they're lasting her just fine. But I sweat a lot more than her, so I destroy them. If you liked the video, thumbs up below. If you loved it, you can subscribe, hit the bell, and YouTube will let you know when things happen. Other ways to join the channel, is to join Discord. It'll be a link below, or you can join me on Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific usually. I should announce it early Friday mornings, what time it will be, where we have people watching and chat right now, and they can ask me some research questions after about how I use craft, or honestly whatever. You want to talk about bikes? I can talk about bikes if you really want. That's it. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. All right. Let's put the time code in there again. We stopped at 21, I'll call it 40. Stop. Cool. Next up we have, Plan 3. Fringe Hours by Jessica Turner. I don't know if I said Martin, but you're welcome for the iPad stuff. You're welcome for the iPad stuff. Fringe Hours by Jessica Turner is a book about, I guess, women being productive. Not necessarily geared to me, because I'm a dude, I guess. But, well, I guess let's dig into that. And then I'm just going to hang around and do some research, and you can ask me questions about craft if you have them, or whatever. You can ask me questions about, like I said, keyboards if you want, or anything, really. So let me just make sure I'm good set up here. I'm going to use the book intro this time. Not what I wanted this time. Let me go over to my iPad and say start is right around 20, we'll call it 22 minutes. That way when I go chop up the chop this up later in Final Cut, I know where it is, instead of like having to search the whole 2-hour file that we'll have. So, The Fringe Hours by Jessica Turner. I do not have a copy of this book because it was a Kindle book, but I will, superimpose. I'll go like this pose. There you go. Now I got a frame to use that for like putting the book on my hands in the caption in the video, if I choose to do that. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about The Fringe Hours by Jessica Turner. This is a book that, that's really geared for women, not for men in theory. Geared for women that have a lot to do, are managing a lot of things, including all the caregiving responsibilities that women have to manage that men just generally don't have to. I have no idea why I got this book. It was just sitting in my Kindle library. So I read it and didn't realize till about page 14, I was like, oh wait, this is actually for women. Before we dive in, a couple ways to support the channel. Number one, you can become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. Number two, you can take one of my Skillshare courses. If you're into books, research, stuff like that, there'll be a link below to my Zettelkasten course called Getting Started with Zettelkasten on Skillshare. Or you can just head over to Skillshare at curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, where you can take one of my courses. Other ways you can join me, join my Discord channel, link below, or you can join me Fridays around 1 p.m. Pacific. I should be streaming for a couple hours. That's what I'm doing right now, so you can actually ask me questions about this book if you're live. Without further ado, I will find the button to click because I don't have my Stream Deck yet. There we go. So like I said, I have no idea where I got this book from, but it is directly focused at women, specifically around helping them use their gifts, not just for other people, but for like to feed themselves, to give themselves edification, I suppose. Edification. There's a churchy word I learned. So while this isn't really aimed at me, and I actually think there's a fundamental flaw in the book overall, I think there are some interesting points to discuss, which we're going to get into. First off, Turner talks about how we have balance and equates that with everything fitting neatly into your life, which I think is just wrong. I think the truth is that really we're always out of balance in some fashion, right? So I'm a runner, I'm a cyclist, and I'm an athlete, I suppose, and I'm always out of balance, to use air quotes, in one way, right? I'm mostly riding right now, but I took a couple years off biking, mostly, like totally off some of it, to commute a little bit, and that's really about it. So you're always out of balance in some way, right? I can be a good employee, I can be a good father, I can be a good athlete, like I can only be certain things at certain times, and you always have to choose what that is. I think that's probably a better way to look at it. You're always kind of teetering around on what you're going to be focusing on at the time, but you can never be totally in balance and have all of them at the same time. That's just kind of being stagnant. Now, Turner also really dives deep into balance as she looks at how it's easy to book ourselves up with a bunch of stuff that feels interesting in the moment or is good in the moment, but ultimately isn't. When we look back at it later, we say, oh, this is just way too much, right? Especially when you look at things for your kids. Where you say, oh, my kids are in swimming and skating and ninja gym and piano lessons, and then you get to I run around every night, and this sucks. And that's tough. It's especially tough, I think, when you get to kids into their older ages as they're going into, being adults in their 20s and stuff. And as David Brooks says in The Second Mountain, they go from the most controlled childhood ever to you could be anything you want. And they've had very little opportunity to kind of graduate through responsibility. They've just kind of are told, hey, you can be anything and make all your decisions and you just be free after having the most controlled childhood that kids have kind of ever had. Yeah. She also talks about a uniquely female problem. Of working to please other people to the point of emptiness and allowing your guilt seeing other people kind of influence how you conduct yourself. I even see that with my wife in some ways when she's like, oh, the house is so messy. And I'm like, literally everyone's house looks like this. Like we've got 3 kids are messy. That's just it. And she has often felt bad when we were entertaining, which we're not now. Hey, my house isn't clean enough for people to come over. And I'm like when we go to our friends' houses, they have the same discussion beforehand and their house looks exactly the same. So, yeah. Another big thing I really liked from her was the no yell rule, was that if I am going to take my kids to something and I got to yell to get them there, then we're just going to quit because they clearly don't care about it enough to make it a priority for them. So I really like that, and I have instituted that, and we have missed skating once because I was not yelling at my oldest daughter to get to skating on time, and we just didn't get there. And that was totally fine with me. She is now ready. Now, one of the big fatal flaw I find here is that the assumed premise that a woman can only find fringe hours like on the margin for herself, for anything that kind of keeps her going or feeds her. And this showed in Turner's example of saying, I read magazines while I blow my hair, which, I guess, okay. But that's the only time she can get to read her magazines because she's so booked up everywhere else that's it, right? And she does talk about having a discussion with her husband about doing more. But I think that there's a big key missed here that, men need to step up. And men, if you're watching this, you need to step up. And you need to do more in your house. Because even if you think you're doing a lot, you're probably not quite doing as much as your wife. It's not a 50-50 split at all. It's almost never a 50-50 split. And Turner just kind of skips that whole thing. She doesn't say anything about that, really. She just kind of assumes that women are only ever going to get fringe hours because they have so many other things to do, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Big fatal flaw. So the question is, should you read this book, The Fringe Hours by Jessica Turner? And I'm going to say, nah, it's not a terrible book, but especially if you're a guy, this is probably not the one for you. If you're a woman looking for productivity, then I also say, because it's the assumption that there's these fringe hours, that that's all you're ever going to get, it's just a weaker book in that respect. If you're looking at productivity, I'd recommend some other books like Atomic Habits, Deep Work, or Digital Minimalism. Those are all 3 of them are really good books on productivity from different angles. And if you're looking at the aspect of getting men to do more, really getting men to do more, or their fair share, then Raising Empowered Daughters is a good one, taken from a man's perspective and basically calls men to the floor. Or All In is another good one, talking about how men are, in many ways, by society, limited in what they're allowed to do because women pay a price for childcare, but then men pay a price too. As if you take too many days off from when you have a new baby, your career, suddenly you're a terrible career person. That's it. If you liked the video, thumbs up below. If you loved it, subscribe, hit the bell. YouTube will let you know what happened. Other ways to support the channel, become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale, or you can also take one of my Skillshare courses. If you go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, that'll take you there. You can search Curtis McHale, find one of my courses, or you can see links below. There's also a Discord channel where we chat a very tiny bit, and because that's, takes a lot of people to get there. And there, you can also join me most Fridays at around 1 p.m. Pacific. I'll be streaming, but you should notice it. That's it. Thanks for watching. All right, Gail, I saw your question. So let me write down the time code I finish here first, and then we'll look at your question. 3026 we finished. 3026. Gail asks, let's add to broadcast. Do you use something like Readwise to mine your highlights and transfer to Craft? Does Craft have a Readwise integration? And if so, would that interest you or work with your note-taking workflow? Gail, I do not use anything like Readwise. Let me see, share my screen. What I do is, oh, it's unlocked. Hang on. There we go. Screen share with Pip. That's the one I want. I was using, last time I streamed, I was using, what was it? I can't move that. Okay, that's fine. I'm in the wrong spot, but that's where it is. I was using last time my phone with the Elgato Stream Deck software, and it just didn't end up working very well at all. So I've stopped that. Highlights from Kindle books. So Gail, what I do is just email them to myself. And do I have one in here? I don't know if I even have one in here. Fringe. Let me see if I save that. Does Devin think? I don't. So what I do, Gail, is I really just email the notes to myself out of my Kindle, and then I go through them. There's no big secret to that. Let me just see if I can find one in my email. I can show you a little bit what I would do. I know you can't see my email right now because I don't want you to yet. Let's see if I have Fringe Hours in here. The book I just talked about, Fringe. There we go. So I would, yeah, that's fine. That's all good stuff that is okay to see. So Gail, I would just open up the PDF. I'd actually do this on my iPad usually, but I'd open up the PDF. I'd then go here, option, put it on the other side. And I just kind of go through it. So if I go into my inbox and the Fringe Hours, I literally just had them side by side, went through everything, and you're good with the distance. Good. I just go through and go through the book, right? So you can see I give you permission to teach you how to use your gifts, not just for others. That's the purpose of the book. I called it the promise of the book right here, and just kind of went through and took notes on the things that were important, that I thought were important to the book, that helped me explain the book. And then even pulled some of this out because I thought they were bigger ideas. So right here, women go to the point of emptiness is an interesting one to give to the point of emptiness, or having everything is exhausting, right? And I also linked out here to something from Why We Can't Sleep here as well. And you can see that that also links to many other things in here. That's how I do it. I don't use Readwise. I don't use any other service. I just take my notes in Craft and then I keep going. That's really all I do. Do you use Readwise, Gail? Do you? Anyway, so that's what I would normally do. Just do my highlights in my Kindle when I'm reading on Kindle. When I'm reading in a real book, I just have Craft open. Whether it's on my phone or whether it's on my phone. Not as much on my phone or on my iPad. Often on my iPad, sitting right, say sit a little further over when I'm reading, but on my iPad right here. So you're welcome, Gail. Yeah, a bit of friction is not bad. I think that everyone tries to find like this is the no friction method, and it just isn't necessarily the best thing. Always. So what else we're gonna do? First, I'm actually I should take that off since I'm gonna message my wife. I'm gonna say, hey, can you bring me a coffee, please? Because you just made coffee. Let me see. She made it just as I was gonna come do this. So Cool. So next up, I'm going to start looking at my craft setup. I'm going to start going through. So you go. Here's my exact thing I was looking at. Parents over parenting. I'm going to look at my courses. I have a course on reading coming up. Reading well. I'm going to start laying it out. So I need to read how to read a book. I have read it. It's over on my shelf back here. No, you can't see it. I'm on picture in picture. It's behind me. I've read it before. The Reading Mind, also a book I have, I think. Oh, let me look behind me. Nope. Reading in the Brain is the one I have. Oh, yeah, that's on my list too. Reading in the Brain. So, Reading Mind. I should look that up. Reading Mind. So this is a course that's going to come out on. When did you start to read, Martin? Was that How to Read a Book? Reading Mind. Okay, I need to hardcover. I'm going to come off here again. I'm going to maybe do this on my computer. I need to actually take this and open up. Yeah, okay. Cool. That's a good book. I read it a number of years ago on order from the Bookman, and I need to come in here. Oh, I got those too, so I can delete them. Delete. Yes, and I need to come in here, and I'm going to order. No, not that. What? There you go. No, I don't want that either. I want. What was that called? The Reading Mind. Yeah, that's the one. So now I can drag it up. So when I go to the Bookman, which I did earlier today, because I ordered some books for my kids' school. Next time I'll go through and I'll just start at the top and look through these. Some of these are for myself, some of them are for my wife, like the Crawdad Sings book is for my wife. She wants that. So I will order that, and I'll just put it on here. Out of budget for doing new stuff. So look at Xiaomi in 4 questions. A text. My wife says she will bring me coffee, which is very nice of her. I guess I could probably add picture in picture to this, can't I? I set up these views. Later. Oh, there's mine.
I pronounced that did, but I'm always working on how I say things
Be quiet.
that I might not have right.
Okay, that was my Amazon device. Xiaomi had 4 questions, so let's open up his note. Xiaomi. How to read books for maximum learning. That's the page right there. 4 questions. Awesome. So let's come in here and change that around, because when I found this, I just knew that he had 4 questions. It was called at how to read books for maximum learning. Good. I've kind of already gone through that, but I should rewatch the video. See 510 for 4 steps. And here's coffee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ooh, it's hot.
It's very hot.
Coffee. There we go. Find a space for it that's not, too much on my keyboards. Usually I sit farther over, so it wouldn't actually be a big a deal. But since I'm trying to stay in frame here when I have my camera up and still be able to access stuff, I need to set up a new scene for this, don't I? There we go. Now I can do picture in picture. Can I move it? I can. Perfect. That works. I need to set up a new scene for this at some point. Once I get the Stream Deck, which should be on its way now. I should double check the delivery thing for Amazon. Order received. Still doesn't know. Great. So, Xiaomi. Let's start with Xiaomi's thing. Let's rewatch that. That's not what I want. Craft. If you got questions about research, about anything like that, always let me know. I want to hear about them and answer them in the midst of this. I'm just going to do some research so you can see my actual workflow while I'm at it. And I think I can actually play my iPad through. Does it say that? iPad Pro playthrough, so you should be getting audio out of this too.
I checked this out weeks ago for a bit of light reading.
This is light.
Every smart person I know reads a lot, and they say every smart person they know reads a lot. So clearly there is something about reading that makes you smart. However, in my experience, reading alone does not make you smart, because if you don't do anything after reading a book, you're just going to forget what you learned. Take a moment and think about it. What's the last book you read but didn't do anything afterwards? And how much do you actually remember what you learned from the book? Probably not much. So what are those smart people doing differently? There must be something they do to get the most out of reading. What I realized is that they think it through. After reading a book, they take some time to ponder what they just read.
Thought you were reading.
I was. Now I'm thinking about what I read.
Why is this process so important? Because when you're reading, you're just following the author's mental process. In other words, they are doing your thinking for you, which makes you feel you understand the text when in fact you don't. So how can we get out of...
I don't like that idea. It's a pro D day today, so my kids are stomping around upstairs too.
illusion and maximize your learning from books? In my opinion, there are 3 steps in the process of reading. The first step is reading while highlighting. Just highlight any sentence or paragraph that resonates with you. At this stage, I just highlight every sentence that I want to think about later or use for my writing. But I guess everyone does this already. However, the problem is most people stop at this step. They don't do anything with the highlights and just move on to the next book, which I think is such a waste. Although some people use a service like Readwise. In case you don't know about Readwise, it's an app that sends you a daily email with the highlights you made on Kindle. That way you get to review your highlights regularly. But I would say this is a dangerous study method because...
So Gail, going back to like you were saying, no, I'm trying to like control my Mac with my tiny Stream Deck. Going back to what you were saying about Readwise, and I could get daily emails with some of my highlights to remind me of things, but I get so many emails as it is. I think they just get buried all the time. And I guess I could even email it out to, what do I use? My RSS feed reader, Feedbin maybe? I don't remember what I use right now as a service. I think it's Feedbin. And that would also do it show up in my RSS feed as a thing to use, like a thing to review. But instead, to kind of get the same thing, as I tried to go through my notes once a week. I should do that maybe next week, plan to go through my notes just live while streaming. But I try to go through them. It might not be next week, might be the week after. Anyways, I should try to go through that and really dig in and show. And it doesn't matter how many notes I go through, but try to go through like 3 or 4 notes, maybe sometimes 1, and just try to make connections. And once I'm like, oh, I really made a bunch of connections there, and I thought deeply about it and added some stuff to it, then I have kind of accomplished my goal. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about this. And yeah, I just don't know about Readwise. I've never felt like it's a big hole I have to continue to make more connection to remind myself. So I get the daily email, it doesn't help me. Perfect, Gail. I'm glad I don't use this thing. It helps me lie to myself and absorb and reviewing what I have read. I wouldn't recommend it as a review tool. Thanks for the honesty. So I've been doing some coaching as a pilot group for people doing research and how they're doing it. And I think I got a couple times. I talked to one person. I tried to vague because they didn't get permission, but they were saying, oh, like it's a crucial job function to review and to read these research papers. And I was like, are you treating it like one? The answer is no, I'm getting interrupted all the time. Well, then you're not doing your job, right? So it's easy to say that a Zettelkasten system or honestly any type of research system is going to solve the problem, but you still take your own bad processes to it. Someone else in the coaching said, hey, like I just want a system I don't have to maintain. I was like, well, then you don't have then there's nothing here. There's nothing here for you, right? If you don't maintain your task manager, then you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff you're never going to do, which is what most people have, which is why it feels great to switch a task manager, because you are now looking at stuff that, like, you just say no to a whole bunch of stuff that you're never going to do in the first place. So yeah, I'm not going to do Readwise. I like that, Gil. I think it would probably let me fool myself into thinking of doing something as opposed to spending time as a crucial job function doing research on topics and really like working to connect my notes. So that's what I would say. If you use Obsidian, let me know, Gail, what you use. If you use Obsidian, there's the random note feature in Obsidian that you can use to find random notes and dive in there and just find a random note. If you go to, go through 3 or 4 till you find one you really spend some time connecting on, and then you've done a good job. If you do that, I don't know, once or twice a week, give yourself half an hour to an hour to do that. You get a lot more than an email that lets you, as you say, Gail, fool yourself into thinking you're really digging into your research stuff. So cool. We're kind of on the same page then. Let me go plus. Back to Shu.
It only promotes a mere exposure effect. The mere exposure
Mere
effect
exposure
refers
effect,
to a
there you go.
psychological phenomena where people tend to refer things merely because they're familiar with them. A similar principle applies to rereading. The moment you become familiar with something, you start to believe you also understand it, even though you actually don't. So whenever you get a
I like that too. That's an important thing to remember for the course that I'm going to be building.
email from Readwise and reread your book highlights, it only makes you feel like you're getting smarter. This is why using Readwise in writing. The moment you become familiar with something, you start to believe you also understand it, even though you actually don't. So whenever you get a daily email from Readwise and reread your book highlights, it only makes you feel like you're getting smarter. This is why using Readwise in isolation is not useful, because it only gives you a false sense of understanding. So if rereading your highlights doesn't work, what should we do with them? This leads to the next step. Take notes and write about what you read to distill your highlights into core insights. This is probably the most important step to internalize the knowledge you have consumed. You can use a note-taking method like Zettelkasten in this step to make the best notes. If you want to know more about this Zettelkasten method, please watch my previous video about it. Without taking notes, reading is useless, no matter how many books you read. You want to look at the highlights you made and write about what you learned in your own words. It's very important to write it in your words instead of just copy and pasting, because it forces you to think the idea through and understand it. This is part of the reason why writing is a superpower. It improves your thinking. Personally, I use an app called Roam Research to take notes, but you can use whichever app you like to make notes, such as Evernote, Notion, Obsidian, or Remnote. The final step is to review your notes regularly. Most people don't do anything after making their notes, but you...
And this is what we're talking about, right? He's talking about right now, reviewing your notes regularly. And you say, Gail, you use Notion. Yeah, go for it. If that's what you like, go for it. I don't like the iPad support. I do a lot of my research on my iPad, so the iPad support is atrocious last time I looked. And as I said in a video, I think I already recorded it. I think it's already out, about don't try new apps. Like, I don't have a problem with Craft, so I'm not going to go like dig into a bunch of other stuff and see what's up with Craft. Or see what's up with other tools, because my job is not to test out a bunch of tools for you. My job is to have a channel that's interesting to me and to do research about topics that are interesting to me. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, go find another channel. I don't care at all. Yeah, use whatever tool you want, Gail. Honestly, I really don't care. And if I did care, you shouldn't care that I care. You should just use whatever works for you.
To review your notes constantly so you can learn from it over and over again. It's also important so you can develop your ideas and insights further. In my opinion, your notes are never complete. They're like plants and trees. You're supposed to develop and cultivate your ideas trees over time, but you cannot do that without reviewing your notes regularly. So make it a habit to review at least one note every day. Just open your notes-taking app, explore your previous notes, and see if you can add a new insight or find a new connection to another idea. So this is a process of reading, but if you want to go even further, there's actually a secret step, that is, create. After repeating this reading process for a while, you have a bunch of notes in your hands. Why don't you share them with other people? It'd be a shame to keep this valuable knowledge just to yourself. You may think your notes are useless, but I can guarantee there's always someone who will find your knowledge useful. By sharing your work online, you can also get feedback from people which you can use to develop your ideas even more. Also, it lets you build your audience and attract new opportunities and people for you. It really is the best way to build your network and personal brand. All you have to do is to take a look at your notes and assemble them in a logical.
Okay, while I take exception a little bit here with his, it's not in this video, another one I watched, he was talking like big emphasis on building your personal brand. That's why you share. And I don't feel that. I feel like I have to share no matter what. But I do also feel at the same time that the only reason I have a career that I have today and that YouTube makes me money and that courses make me money, that I'm a programmer, that I'm leading a small development team, that is because I shared. That's it. Because I wrote some blog posts that let me introduce to one person who then introduced me to the CEO of the company I work at that got me the job. Like, that's it. And the only reason I got to meet like the founder of that other company is because like 5, 6 other people knew me, and when I transferred into using their system instead for my site, Statamic, instead of WordPress, they were like, "Oh, Curtis is here. This is so awesome!" And like people were like, "Curtis is here. This is cool." But it's only because I shared stuff. I think, Gail, that as I said in this other video that went out on Monday, that most people far underestimate the cost that any app switching takes, and instead they just think that some new app is going to solve all their problems. So it's not. You still take your broken self to all your problems, to all your apps.
Coherent way. That's actually the beauty of this system. When you already have a bunch of notes with you, writing is more like assembling rather than starting from a blank page. It becomes much easier. So just write about what you learned from books using your notes and share it in your blog, YouTube, or your newsletter. In summary, I talked about why reading while highlighting is not enough to internalize the knowledge you consumed, and the 4 steps of reading that are reading, taking notes, reviewing, and sharing. If you have any question or want to connect with me, feel free to send me a message on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Cool. That was good. That is not going to be anything for me right now, though. I just wanted to make sure I took better notes on that for later. Does you have anything else? Well, I should learn in public. I think that's the video. You say, it's all about meeting people and growing your network. And I think he misses the huge benefit that is forced upon you when you try to explain something and realize that you have a gap in your knowledge that needs to be filled. Shoe stuff is okay. It's not bad at all. I just don't follow it as much. I think in some fields, and not that I'm the research expert, but at some point you're like, I've got a handle on all this, and so I'm picking up a little tidbit, and the amount of new information I get out of here, if anything, is so much smaller that I don't read them as much. Open Dev and Think. There you go, how to read a book. Open Craft back up. You're literally seeing how I do my research, right? Go through Dev and Think notes. So, how to read a book for maximum learning on YouTube. What's that one by? It's a web archive. Matt Morris. So what I'm going to do now is execute my Dev and Think shortcut. I'm going to copy item link. I'm going to go back up here. So this is in part because, did I set this up? Yeah, Craft Zettelkasten. Took my clipboard, DT link, paste. And there you go, how to read a book for maximum learning on YouTube. So now I can come back in here. And that's still, I haven't gone through them all, so I'm just going to link to this and go at 204. Good. Now I can watch this one. How long is this one?
Hey, Matt Morris here, and wanted to do a quick video that I think can add a ton of value to your life. And that is how to read a book. Now, obviously, if you're reading my blog and on my website and so forth, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube, you obviously know how to read.
What I should do for those that care that are in chat, I should go copy URL as well. Oh, I can't do it actually because I'm in on 2 different devices. How to read a book. Oh. I'm just trying to grab it from my other screen so that you can copy URL, paste into chat. And, there you go. Yeah, Martin, your system grows just as you grow. Like, it's not a... Use the random note thing, but that's the one I'm watching right now, though, the How to Read a Book for Maximum Learning. I'll try to do that. Bug me in chat if I miss it. Although chat didn't scroll, so I didn't actually see your thing, Martin. Sorry. Let's go back to this.
Book, but I'm going to give you a strategy that I've used to just completely reinvent my life. See, where I was at 21 years old, I was homeless. I was living out of my beat up Honda Civic. I was bathing in gas station bathrooms. I showered naked in a church parking lot one night. I was at a very low point in my life, and I made a commitment when I was living out of my car. Learn the concept of modeling. And modeling basically just says, if you want to have huge success, find someone who's had the kind of success that you want, figure out how they did it, do the same thing, and you can get the same result. And so one of the greatest ways to model others is to learn from others. And so I'm here in my, my home office library here, and you can see hundreds of books behind me. Library's got well over 1,000 books here. And over the last 18 years as an entrepreneur, I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. And that has led to a whole lot of success because I'm able to pick out a book of, someone like Jack Welch, who's one of the greatest management gurus of all time. And I'm able to read about how he manages a corporation. And that obviously increases my management skills when I apply that. And so I'm going to give you kind of my strategy, my personal development plan for how I read and kind of what I do with it. And so I take it amazingly serious anytime I read a book. And so right now, for instance, I'm reading John Wooden on leadership, just finishing it up. It's an amazing book. Definitely recommend you read this. And so in reading the book, here's what I have handy when I'm reading. Now I carry this in my backpack when I'm traveling, if I'm on planes and all this. This is what I've got. So number 1, I've got a book. Number 2, got a journal, got a pen, and got a highlighter. So here's what happens is, so I go through the book, and as I'm reading, I'm looking for the golden nuggets of information. So chances are you've probably read some great books in the past, but if I told you what did you specifically get out of the book, you couldn't tell me. You forget about it. And so I want to make sure whenever I read a great book, I don't forget the most important parts in it. Now, some people, highlight they'll highlight it. And that's what I used to do. I used to just highlight the book, but how many times do you actually go back and reread your highlights? It's not very often. And so here's the strategy that I follow. When I'm reading, I've got the highlighter handy, and so yes, I do highlight, but then if I want to commit it to memory, see, if you highlight it, you might remember it a little bit more, but when you rewrite that point, it sinks into your mind quite a bit more. And so I actually take that and I rewrite it into my journal here. So, and then the act of writing it obviously causes me to be able to internalize it more and remember it more. And so I'm taking the most powerful part of the book and I'm putting it in these journals. Now then, once I've finished the book, I reread my notes on that, and then I highlight the most important notes that I wrote. And so you can see here, just from this book, it goes on and on and on, but I've got my highlights in here. Now, this is one of the reasons why, for me, it's very easy to do trainings. It's very easy for me to do blog posts and, train on different things that can add value to people's lives, because I've followed this process and I've followed it for years and years and years. And so what I've got on my desk here, this is over the last, it's really been about 10 years, 12 years that I've been following this process. I wish I had started it sooner, but these are all the journals that I have used over the last few years. I mean, some of these are totally worn out. In fact, the cover's fallen off of this one here. But what I can do, if I ever need to give a training, if I want to do a blog post and I want to add value to people's lives, I can go back through my journal and I can open up one of these journals and I can, find something powerful on success. And having amassed this kind of powerful knowledge over the years has really made me be able to have success in a lot of different areas. See, I believe if you want to become an expert, the greatest way to become an expert, if you want to be an expert on sales, go read 5 books on sales, follow this process, and that's going to set you apart. See, 99% of the people in the world are going to be too...
Okay, I think there's actually a problem there, because if you're going to be successful at sales and read 5 terrible books on sales, then you are still terrible at sales. I think you have to read even wider than that. Like you probably need to read 15 or 20 so that you have the ideas and you can really mesh them back together and read syntopically. I should actually check. Someone asked me. I'm going to grab this book off my shelf. Hang on. The How to Read a Book one. Someone asked me. My daughter said she was going to read it. My 10-year-old. She made it like 2 pages in, which is what I expected. But you don't want to discourage her when she says she wants to do stuff like that. Act reading, elementary, inspectional, analytical reading, yeah, syntopical. Okay, someone was trying to tell me it's synoptical, but syntopical, as an S-Y-N topical. Chapter 20 of How to Read a Book. Okay, so syntopical. Now that I've referenced that and confirmed that I was right, and I'll have to go, update that YouTube comment later and say, no, I'm totally right. Syntopically, so across topics, you got to do that up to a point so that you know what's happening, and so that you can understand and normalize the language across multiple books and what they're doing. Oh, my camera. Okay, it is zoomed out. So you do that, yeah. If he's already rejecting highlighting because he won't go back and read it, why is he then relying on handwritten journals? Does he actually go back and read? That's a good question. And I don't think he really answered that, right? Let's go back just a little bit.
It's really been about 10 years, 12 years that I've been following this more and remember it more. And so I'm taking the most powerful part of the book and I'm putting it in these journals. Now then, once I've finished the book, I reread my notes on that, and then I highlight the most important notes that I wrote. And so you can see here, just from this book, it goes on and on and on, but I've got my highlights in here. Now, this is one of the reasons why, for me, it's very easy to do trainings. It's very easy for me to do blog posts and, train on different things that can add value to people's lives, because I've followed this process and I've followed it for years and years and years. And so what I've got on my desk here, this is over the last, it's really been about 10 years, 12 years that I've been following this process. I wish I had started it sooner, but these are all the journals that I have used over the last few years. I mean, some of these are totally worn out. In fact, the cover's fallen off of this one here. But what I can do, if I ever need to give a training, if I want to do a blog post and I want to add value to people's lives, I can go back through my journal and I can open up one of these journals and I can, find something powerful on success. And having amassed this kind of powerful knowledge over the years has really made me be able to have success in a lot of different areas. See, I believe if you want to become an expert, the greatest way to become an expert, if you want to be an expert on sales, go read 5 books on sales, follow this process, and that's going to set you apart. See, 99% of the people in the world are going to be too lazy to follow this process. And I'll tell you, here's my whole attitude, is I want to continually grow myself over the years, and the way I look at it, it's not an overnight process. People are always asking, what's the one book? There's no one book that you're going to read and it's going to catapult your success and take you to another level. I'd love to tell you you can read my book, The Unemployed Millionaire, and your life's never going to be the same because you read it. Yes, it's going to add a lot of value, but there's a lot more than just the Unemployed Millionaire book. There's tons of other books. And so here's the attitude. If you're a tree in the forest, let's say you're an oak tree in the forest, and you had the ability to water yourself. See, reading books is kind of like, it's the growth process. It's how you water yourself. You water your mind, and it's going to produce the fruits of those efforts. And so what I do consistently over time through this commitment to personal development and following this process, so I internalize it, is I grow more than just about anyone else every year by doing it consistently. And so it's that consistent effort over time where I don't have to be, see, I didn't start out as one of the biggest trees in the forest, but I believe by continuing to water myself and following a specific process that ultimately I can become the biggest oak tree in the forest. So this is about you becoming the biggest oak tree in the forest. Water yourself through knowledge, through personal development. Follow this process and watch how it affects your life. Thanks for watching.
So this is not about how to read a book well. Gail, you're saying, I'm sorry, I don't believe he goes through all those journals. I don't really think so either. So I actually did this for a while, and I think that if you're really going to use them to create something regularly, and I don't know who this guy is, I just looked it up as like basic research to get myself started on this topic. If you're really going to create regularly, then maybe you do, because you really are forced to dig through them. But I think even in this way, the original Zettelkasten method with the note cards, which you see, what's his name? Matt something or other, does bullet journal stuff. YouTube. Subscribe to his channel, I think. Subscriptions. What's his name? Matt. You can see all the things I subscribe to now. Matt Ragland. So he does this idea in one of the videos he does. You'll have to find it. I'm not going to find it. Or he does the note cards and that. Then I think if you're really going to use them to create regularly, then sure. But otherwise, I don't think so. I just don't. I agree. I don't think he's going to go back through them all. I always wonder with this, like, I was homeless and I did this and now I'm a millionaire. It always feels to me disingenuous, like there's some other thing that he's going to do. Now, the good points in this, I think, are... it does this sometimes. I don't like that. Yeah, see? You found it before I did. Okay, Craft is doing this sometimes lately. Gotta close it. Craft. This seems to be a bug with iOS in the latest release, where it kind of gives you the half screen thing, which I don't like. Inbox. How to read a book for maximum learning. There we go. We're back. What's good in there? Always have a way to take notes on books, I think, is important. Notes on books. Always be able to go back to repository. I say that because, like, when I was out running this morning and repository, had an idea and I said, hey, Apple Assistant, remind me about this in a couple hours. And it did, and I added the note to it, so that's important. If you're merely highlighting to it, have a, I think process is a better word. Notes. Another one. But ultimately, this was not a thing about... This is really just not something about reading. This is about taking notes. I hope I don't do that to you guys when I find something. Let's mark this as watched. Done. I wonder just... No, you know what? Devin think is like a sync system, so it's not actually going to show me over there. On my other screen real quick. How to Read by Copyblogger. Let's do that one. I'll find the note over here while it's down. Different sort order. Modified? There you go. How to Read by Copyblogger. Paste. That's what I'm looking at now. how to read. So let's do our thing here, copy link. So why did I copy link? Because when I was setting up my shortcut for this, I couldn't find a really good way to capture the link out of the information that DevonThink simply shares out to shortcuts. That's why I have this like intermediate copy link step. And this is at how to read by Copyblogger. So I'm going to leave these undone because I haven't read it and I haven't incorporated it into this note yet as far as the course goes. So once I've done that, I would check it off once it's into the course, even though, you know, once I read how to read a book, that means it's not done for the purposes of the course. It's actually an important point right here that they make much better in how to read a book, so I'm not even going to take care of it now, but that you learn how to read like at a real basic level in school, and then they really don't teach you much else about how to read. Are you really reading is the important part, because there's something about really reading. Yeah, it's literally what I'm doing right now. Ruthlessly scanning for interesting chunks. Actually wonder is there is what's the opposite of suggestions? Anti-suggestions? That's not the right word. Or to stay away from. Gail, I'm going to mention your name. Hopefully you're here. That's okay. In the course at some point, I'll say, hey, Gail. Or, yeah. Cool. Anything else to have this? I think that's it. Get back to the thing. This is really how I build a course. Is like I'll just take ideas and start adding them in. So this up here will likely get busted up at some point into like topics, and I'll start shifting everything around to actually build the course. That's super weird. Note that my iPad says it's 9:41 a.m. It is not 9:40 or not 9:41 a.m. That's super weird. I just noticed that. Interesting. I wonder if that has to do with being hooked into the hub for any reason right now. So it's funny. It also says it's not charging, but it says it's not actually showing that it's charging up here, and yet I'm not still 100%. It's interesting. Gail, you need to send me an email, which is curtis@curtismchale.ca, and I will send you a link to this. Now I got to think how people later in the stream, I guess you just have to be on the owner system. Or Gail, join Discord if you want to. You don't have to do this, and then send me your email. or something. I'll make sure you get a copy of the course for free when it comes out. Thanks, Gail. On Skillshare or something. If you're already on Skillshare, then I'll let you know. Oh, so this is that Clement? So this bug with the time happens to somebody else too, eh? Interesting. It's Tuesday, January 9th. Ah, I didn't even notice that. I just noticed the time. Evidently, as Clement says, this is a normal thing. Regarding the 9:41 Tuesday bug, it's always Tuesday, January 9th at 9:41. That's hilarious. This has got to be some interaction between Ecamm and, yeah, for a couple months. Between Ecamm, which is what I'm streaming out of, and the iPad. That's hilarious. So I wonder if it's not really not at 100% as well. And I got lots of battery for 2 hours. It's not a problem, but that's funny. That's funny. It's coming me. Yeah. If your class is at 10, you can be like, wow, but I'm early. It's 9:41, prof. What are you talking about? Yeah, Gail, Discord, there'll be a link in a lot of my recent YouTube videos. If you want, you can bug me there about that class. I'd love to provide that to you. Can I get I don't even know if I have Discord up, but bug me. Do I have Discord up? Don't switch. Discord's trying to tell me to switch things. Yeah, send me a personal email there, or a personal note there if you want, or some other way, Gail, that you can let me know what your email is, and I'd love to be able to do that for you. Thank you. Back to Ecamm. So it's now in the background. Oh, that's interesting. That's another one. I know in How to Read a Book, he talks about if everything you're doing is really easy, then you're clearly not pushing yourself. So that's another. They say that right here, right? $9:41 is the time, eh? That's interesting, Tim. I wonder if that's really just like a Easter egg, not a bug that they put in. It's an Easter egg. That would be interesting if it's an Easter egg. And there's also like full bars, and it's supposed to cell phone bar up there too. Like, I do not have a cellular iPad, so this cannot be a cell connection. That's interesting. I don't even know. This is my first time streaming from the iPad, so. Oh, that's a really good. That's probably why. So this is probably an Easter egg or something that I'd call it a feature. Yeah, for sure, Tim. Definitely call it a feature. That's all good. Good points. Good points on that. So Gail, I now know that anything that comes after from Gail later is not real Gail. Real Gail is already emailed. Thanks. Cool. I'll check that out later. I'll make a note in the project somehow. I'll make a note in the things project or in the thing to check out Gail's email and put a link into it so I can find it later. Oh, have someone coming in maybe? Oh, more coffee and oat fudge bars from the wife. She's going to stay silent though. Not a fan when she's on the stream. My wife is wonderful for many more reasons than this. This is also a really good one. She's also an excellent athlete. And she's really cute too. So, my daughter made oat fudge bars. My 10-year-old daughter can bake and made oat fudge bars. I'm gonna have a bite. Still warm. So good. I'm chocolatey now too, unfortunately. But I'm gonna mute for a second. I like that too. If you're only reading easy stuff, you're just never gonna grow. So there's an idea of rereading too, and how to read a book. Exciting or cool? If you find research exciting, then yes. Clement, no, I mostly don't. I have, you can kind of see it over my shoulder, I guess. I have my stack of books back here, right there. So I have my old notebooks. I just don't now. I find that, so what I found was there was enough friction in that I was no longer really getting it into a Zettelkasten system or into my like digital note system, and that I think that, well, it can be really good for filtering, because if you have to write, it's not worthwhile if you have to write it. If it's too much work to write it down, it just feels not worthwhile. That I was just losing too much in the process, and that I'm happy with my notes now, and I'm happy because sometimes sometimes I'll only read like 2 pages, but I'll spend like an hour taking notes and jumping between different notes, and I feel that process is getting me farther ahead now. Okay, enough Apple trivia. Now, Apple trivia is all good with me. Like I said, I've said before in a previous video, this is a channel about what's interesting to me. So it's possible one day someone will come on and be like, hey, let's talk about bikes, Curtis, and I'll totally love to talk about bikes. I can show my bicycle theme tattoo even. So I was racing bikes in 1994 is when I started, when I was 14. Now you can also figure out that I'm 41. Well, honestly, Clement, if you really like taking notes in by hand, then go for it still. Like, do whatever works. Don't stick with what I do. I'm just some dude on YouTube that thinks about this a bit. And tries out different methods, right? The 4 levels of reading. There you go. Syntopical. Who was that person on YouTube that's like, I think it's synoptical. It's not. Or they just emailed me, so I'll just write them back and be like, nope, syntopical. And I'm going to link to this article and say, no, look, it's syntopical right here. And elementary reading, I'm going to skim through this because I'm going to read the whole book that this comes out of, and that's not important right now then. Yeah, Martin, I did manual notes for a while, but then I was getting so far behind on moving them in that I was like not able to continue to make progress. And so I think there's always a trade-off between friction here and these type of ideas so that you actually take notes on something that's worthwhile, and there's a tension between that and actually taking good notes. So the keyboard just fall asleep. There we go, it's back. So I, for a while, really worked to make sure that I want the right amount of friction in here. Like I even bullet journaled for a long time. That was good. But then it just kept coming up to like there's too much friction and say like, what's my YouTube checklist for a post? What's my checklist to go skiing? And so now I use things, and I use it very lightly now. Let me just hop into things, I think. I'll show the screen in a second. Yeah. So like for things, what I do now is like I really just have like, I'll put tubeless tires on my felt bike. This is the basic meet things for iPad things project. But honestly, pretty much everything just sits in here, right? Unlinked mentions and craft, that's going to come up soon. Fringe Hours. Oh, wow. I talked about this one on May 24th, the headphones instead of unlinked mentions and craft. So I clearly need to go back and fix this. May 10th. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to have to talk about unlinked mentions and craft really quickly soon. I wonder what my notes are on. That's an interesting one. Do I use unlinked mentions and craft? Because this is a thing. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to record that one elsewhere. Because that's what I was supposed to record today. Clearly I was poorly organized. I was supposed to talk about unlinked mention and craft and the Fringe Hours today, but I talked about these headphones instead. So I'm just going to flip this around, and I'll do unlinked mentions and craft later. Anyway, so I have these checklists, and I do that with a shortcut. Shortcuts. What would I call it? Content calendar. And the shortcut goes through and says search drafts for the most recent one. grabs it, finds all my calendar events in the next 7 weeks. That's in my content calendar. That's literally just a calendar I've set up on my Apple calendars. And it says format it to the proper format calendars wants. Choose your menu. So am I doing like either a book post or another post, right? So a regular post would be like the headphones I did today, or the right, or the unlinked mentions in craft, that type of stuff. Loops, does some looping, right? It says, are you in regular, do it this way. If you're in the other one, do it this way. And it like basically has to detect, like, am I looking at a Monday post or a Friday post? Then how many days do I add based on other things? And then just puts it all in. And it adds me a project and things as well, right? Run things URL. It just runs this URL scheme right here. And that's it. Run things URL. And this really only works on my iPad, because the iPad iOS apps are different between iPad and Mac, or so iPad and iPhone. So different apps, so they have different URL schemes. Not different. Like this action right here is actually for a totally different app according to shortcuts. So that's really all I use it for. So I want the proper amount of friction. The other thing I do is if I go in here and where is it? 8. There we go, 7. So if I click this and I click that, it should just work. Actually, I'm gonna try this from my iPad. There you go. So I have my taxes project now, and that's just a parse. I have to delete this. Delete. Delete. No library day for my daughter because we already did it. Patreon's done too. So it parses out. So I'll use this a whole bunch of stuff when I'm like, skiing is in here, right? So skiing list. So that was kind of the big problem that I kept finding with things, that it just wasn't, with a bullet journal that had all these little lists that I needed all the time that were much better kept in a digital format that just weren't. So, and if you like using notebooks, then use notebooks. I don't care. How to be well read without reading, well, on Medium. I hate Medium articles. There we go. So let's do this again. Copy item link. Yeah, I honestly just do whatever works for you. Like, build up your system as you go. You might see my system and be like, Curtis, you've got so much, but like it literally got built over years, starting with my notebooks, Martin, and then from my notebooks moving into other things eventually, right? Moving into other systems as they made more sense for what I was doing. I'm gonna go back here. How to be well read. There we go. Notes. And mute again. Have another bite of this because it's so tasty. I think these things are a little ridiculous. Like, Bill Gates reads 50 books a year, great. I actually read more than that. But Warren Buffett does this. Like, they're always citing a bunch of people who have like basically unlimited time, so they can do whatever they want with it, which is hard for how many other people to do. Yeah, like it's easy to say, yeah, a young Elon Musk read 10 hours a day. Who can read 10 hours? Can you read 10 hours a day and still do your job? I can't. You must have had like millions of dollars, so it didn't matter. Or had parents, right? That could pay for everything, so it doesn't matter. So Gail, you're saying too that, I should put some of these comments up. I had to broadcast. Gail says, funny enough, I used to rely on, I want to kill the picture in picture so you can see it. Bullet journal, or tasks and lists, and migrating to Notion. I migrated to Notion because of the hassle of rewriting and reorganizing my handwritten projects. Fair enough. Now, I do still strongly feel that many people, if they introduce some friction to their task management system via bullet journal, via something else, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff that they realize is not worthwhile. So what I do now, it's underneath other stuff. I'm not going to open it, but so I'll have just like my day of tasks in here, and I'll keep it as kind of like a programmer's journal in this official bullet journal. It sits beside my desk. Like, here's the top things I'm going to do today, and I'll put like 3 things or 2 things in there. Yeah, and to jot notes regularly, kind of keep a journal of the day for programming reasons. So I would love to go on a reading holiday, Gil. I even think that, like, so me saying I can read 50 books a year or 80 or whatever. Also, I got to recognize I'm a white dude. I got a wife who doesn't do most of the childcare, even. She works after school, so I actually take care of the kids after school. But like, I got so many advantages that other people are like, I wish I could read that much, and they just literally can't. Right? They have to work more hours than I do to get things done. They can't just say, Fridays, say I'm gonna stream live on Fridays, because I can choose that. Or like, my boss literally doesn't care. As long as work's getting done, he does not care what I do with my time. Yeah. So it's important to recognize that, and I'm trying to do better at it, recognizing that and giving people advice that they can use no matter what they do. Checklists. I don't do that. I just hand enter checklists if I'm going to do one. But all the ones that you saw that I showed today were just automatically generated via like the things URL shortcut or the parse things drafts action. And I actually did a video. Let me see if I can find this. Safari. Things 3 drafts parse. Things parser right there. So you can find that here. I did a video on this too. So that's how I do mine. I just installed that in action and drafts. For ways to be well read when you're not a reader. See, crafted it again. We got a UI bug going on. And I did it over here. Done. There's no way to get it back either, unfortunately. I have to open up Craft again. Not Raymond Mini. Should I be streaming video games from my iPad sometimes? There we go. Reading well. I was on how to be well read. This is more, seems like productivity porn now. How to be well read. Listen to audiobooks as a form of... I actually don't mind listening to audiobooks as a form of, say, multitasking. But you have to make sure you are doing 2 things that take difference, right? You're going to, like... I'm not going to read here and try and talk to you and multitask at this and try to listen to an audiobook at the same time. That's like not going to work. But like doing dishes, going for a run and doing that, totally valid. So you got to make sure you're doing like, what's it called? Like multimodal, 2 different modes. It's also really good if you want to, if you think, hey, I might want to do this book. I'm going to, like, I run. Or you're doing something else. You're like, I might want to listen to this book and really take notes on it. You can listen to it at double speed and then decide yes or no, I actually need to dig into this. So also book summaries are good for that as well. I know another good one to do, and one of the reasons I do it is because like the book reviews I do on Fridays. This would be another good one. So this idea right here is also in How to Read a Book, so I'm not going to bother with it. How to like start out a book, read the beginning, read the end, read the chapters, look at the sections, read the intro, then decide if you're really going to read it and how deep you want to. Some okay stuff there. Again, not... So Gail says here, bring it up again. Gail, you like the highlight today. Thank you. That ability to listen attentively to an audiobook and still absorb it, the info, is a great ability I don't have. And I can't keep attention with so many directions around. I'm not even saying that you need to keep attention to it if you're really going to dig into it. I listen to a lot of fiction in audiobook form because I do. While I'm writing and running. I listen to a lot of podcasts that way. And if there's something really worthwhile, I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it then. Otherwise, just not worth it. Martin. DT to go sync over your network to DT on your Mac. Any issues, the link goes away. I'm not sure what you mean. So I sync via their iCloud, I guess their legacy iCloud thing. And it's fine with me. I've never had like things disappear on me between two things. And what you see actually in my iPad view here, right here, this X Devon Think URL actually will call back to the Devon Think file on my Mac or on my iPad, so that I can just find it if I want to easily every time. I don't have to like dig around for it. I just have it all the time. So yeah, I think when I'm doing fact-based books, I'm really just looking for, is this worthwhile digging into? That's it. Now that my kids are old enough to want audiobooks too, I don't even do much of that. I just kind of, they get most of the book choices. I get a few, even though I pay for it all. But I guess, you know, it's normal for kids. I pay for everything and they get most of the choices. Did I put that in there? I did. How to be well read. Meh, mediocre article. I will not, in the research ups for this, make you actually read, like watch me read how to read a book. That sounds boring for me. Another Medium article. I don't like Medium. Why don't I like Medium is maybe a question you wonder. Mainly because of their monetization strategy and how they inevitably and totally expectedly started treating their authors, which is not nearly as good as they started out as. It's supposed to be like this awesome spot for authors and you're going to get so much stuff out of it. And the truth is, nah, only at the beginning. Once they had like some sort of critical mass, then they don't care about you. They're just going to try and make some money. I used to write on Medium. I only ever did it as a like republishing platform. I never did it as my own thing. Would I say that Clement says, let's get back here. I want my Stream Deck. Had to broadcast. Clement says, would you say that taking notes on books is worth it if you're not planning on reviewing them or producing other content using them? Why are you reading them, Clement? If you're not planning on doing something with it, being a better person even, then why are you wasting your time reading it? Unless you're like, if you're reading fiction for enjoyment, for pure enjoyment, go for it. I don't read that. That works for me. But if you're saying, I'm going to read these like fact-based books, say digital minimalism, just for sake of argument, and you're not going to do anything with the information after, you're not going to produce any content, then why did you waste your time? I think that, and the whole Zettelkasten system is designed, and he says multiple times that it's about producing something after. Whether that's a presentation at work, whether that's a blog post, an article, an actual journal publication, like, what's his name did? Whoever started it. I know Sanka Arons wrote the book that everyone refers to, but I forget the guy's name who did it. Nicholas Luhmann. Or like, if you're gonna read a parenting book and take some notes on it to be a better parent, also totally valid. That's like good, plus like content you're doing to become a better person. But if you're doing like none of these things, why are you wasting your time? Go do something else. Like, if you're not becoming a better person from it, if you're not like doing work presentations, if you're not producing some sort of content for it, then I don't know. So what are you doing with this if you're not, like you're saying, I'm never going to look at this again and I'm never going to, I'm interested, I guess. So I think that long-term Clement, who says he's interested, that's why he's doing this, I think taking the notes is worthwhile then. I think you will refer back to it. I think you maybe have you and your friend will be talking about one of the topics that you were interested in. You'll be like, what did that say again? You'll go back and look at it. Or at some point you will do a little more with it. I'm a programmer, I have a counseling degree, and you come watch me do research on stuff. Like, how does that even come together? So, and if you're interested, go for it. If you're interested and really want to remember it later, then yeah, take notes. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe you're just wasting your time. Maybe you could get more of the same out of it if you're not taking notes because you just didn't bother putting that effort into it. Hey Neil, things are going okay? Having coffee. My daughter made oat fudge bars. My wife brought me some because she's awesome. I think even if you're stuff you're interested in, Clement, I hope I'm saying your name right as well. I've said it like a bajillion times. Sorry if I haven't. What was I going to say? I think you're going to do something with it, though. I just think you'll end up doing something with it. Need to set up more scenes. Yeah, absolutely, Martin. Martin says, the act of taking that note could help you learn. The act of taking that note can help you learn as long as you write it with your own words. Absolutely. That's the crucial point to all of this, right? Write it with your own words. I'm using Craft to take notes, Neil. Craft on this side. Devon Think to go on this side. I do most of my research on my iPad, so that's what I'm showing off today. Doing most of my research on my iPad. So I could do the same thing on my Mac if I really want it. I've got that over here. Right. Same thing right here on these two screens. But I figure since I do most of my research on my iPad, I should show that. And I am. And Craft is just a good note-taking app for your iPad. So it's better than Obsidian was. Obsidian's a really good one, a pretty good one now, but it's better than Obsidian was. What is Smart Marks? From Best Self Co. Okay. It's a bookmark. And you can take notes on. Interesting. Something I used to do. I got it behind me, so give me a second. It's in a pile of books. So when I read The War on Normal People by Andrew Yang, stick a bunch of tabs in the middle, and then I find one. When it was like a useful thing, I actually put a post-it note in there this way. Put a post-it note in there to with actually like what it said in there, why that was useful, and then I went back through it later on to dig in. Now I don't do this now. The question is, why don't I do this now? I don't do this now. It introduced enough friction that I was just not getting through books, and I was resisting taking notes later. So that's why I don't do it now. So I don't know. Yeah, Clement. So Clement says that.
I didn't hear that. Please try that again.
Clement says that I don't want to become one of those people that take notes just to be happy they took a lot of notes. Fair enough. So what are you going to do with it? How are you going to use it to mentor somebody? Even how quickly? What's the next question by Neil? Get 1 second, Neil. You can use it to mentor someone, or you can use it to be a better person, you can use it to raise your children, you can use it to what? What are you going to do with it? And what are you going to do with your notes long term? Not that every note has to be done, have something with it, like it doesn't need to be everything, but like what are you going to do? Neil, how quickly do I try to get through a book? That's the question. It's not a race. I try, kind of set my goal every year for 50 books a year, 50, which is generally actually really easy for me. That's not a problem. Like I'm reading Ready Player 2 right now is one of my books, and like I'm not taking notes on Ready Player 2. Although there's one I think I should have where one of the characters says, "Oh, like can you be happy in this digital world where you look at the nostalgia of past generations?" That's like your big thing. So there's no like speed that I'm aiming for. I again try to hit one a week of a thinking book, but realistically it doesn't happen. The Organized Mind I just read, and it was just a heavy book. It took me like 3 weeks to get through it. So no particular speed or as needed. Like if I was going to read a Seth Godin book, they're super fast, so I wouldn't worry about it. Clement again. I definitely want to read to become a better person, and I guess that's the only going to happen when I process tough literature that most definitely requires note-taking. And then going back to them is the big thing, right? So the questions in How to Read a Book here, beside me. What does he say? Let's see if I can find it quick, if it's in here. And one of the questions is, he asks, does this book matter in its field, and what are you going to do about it? And if you're not going to do anything about it, then if you say, I'm not going to do anything about this, what you really said is, this is either a bad book or I didn't read it well enough. And a bad book is totally fine. It's okay if you're read a bad book. We're all going to read bad books at some point. Just don't feel bad about quitting them either. So don't feel bad about quitting them. Smart marks, they look interesting, but I'm not going to use those. Okay, let's kill that. Go back to what I was reading. creating a summary of the book. So this is what I do. This is actually why I write about books, is to create a summary and make sure I've really thought about some of the ideas and connected them. And if you're not going to write a summary, that can also be taking your individual notes and connecting them to other notes. It's like another good thing. I don't have a tag for note taking. Sure, there you go, note taking. Recap every chapter. I realize you can't see that very well. Neil. Not totally on context. This is a channel about whatever's interesting to me, so if I'm answering the question, we're good. So Neil asks, I'm on the fence about starting a YouTube channel about analog productivity and learning. Any advice? Do it. Now, here's the thing. Do it if you literally can't stop yourself. If you're like, I just have to do this. I feel a need to share every day. I feel like I really feel this like deeply, then go for it. So it's a good way to do that. I think video is harder, way harder. Now, one of the reasons I am doing more streaming now, and if you caught the beginning of the stream, Neil, you'd actually have seen like my next couple videos coming up where I talked about these headphones. In error, because I misread what my task was for the day. But it's still a coming video. Or if I, what else did I talk about? A book called The Fringe Hours. So if you really feel you have to share these things, then go for it. It can be harder to start with a blog. Like you need a camera, right? Like I've got I'm looking at a $1,400 Canon 90D Canadian. I'm looking at like a $500 USB dock over there to make it work. And I've got this big mighty rig up above me with an overhead camera if I wanted to show you that, right? If I wanted to go like, here's my overhead camera. If I was going to show you something on my desk for overhead. And if you're going to do productivity stuff, you'll need to do that. Oh, I adjusted my overhead camera earlier. Never set it back. There you go. Like if you're going to do productivity stuff then, or like bullet journal style stuff, analog productivity, then you're going to have to do that. So do it if you can't help but show it, and then make sure you do it in a way that is sustainable for yourself. So this is why I'm streaming now, because I'm actually streaming at the same time, thereby getting views, and I'm also, the beginning 25 minutes, 30 minutes were all about recording the videos I have coming up. So that then I can chop them up later in Final Cut, reasonably easy. I took some notes on where I was at with them, had time codes, and then I've kind of got my production done. Like I even used my intros in here, right? I did like this in the middle of a video. Right, so then I actually don't have to add that in later. I can just say like I'm good to go. So do it if you can't help, but not do it if you're like, oh, people are popular doing this, then don't do it because you're not going to stick with it. So that's what I say. But honestly, like, yeah, do it if you think you need to. Do it if you think you need to. There's someone. Oh, my 4-year-old is now in here. You gonna wave to people? This is Arwen.
What are you talking to?
I'm talking to the camera. And there's a whole bunch of people watching. A whole bunch of people. There's some people watching me. So now they're watching you too. Do you have anything to tell us about books you like?
I like unicorn books and frozen books.
Unicorn books and frozen books. And who are you dressed as today?
Elsa from Frozen 1.
And who did your makeup?
Myself.
Yourself. There you go. Cool. Why don't you head upstairs, kiddo? I'll be up in a minute, okay?
Yep.
Love you.
Bye-bye. Anna. Bye, Anna.
Did you just call me Anna?
Yeah.
You silly goose. See you later, kiddo. Oh, I will let her know you said hi, Martin. We're going to wrap up the stream pretty quick here in the next little bit. So even here, we talked about Clement. Take action on the material. Right, he says take action. What I did at the beginning of my personal development journey was read a lot of books and do nothing with it, basically. I gained a lot of knowledge, but it didn't do much, so gotta do something. I'm reading also The Productivity Project. It's got a blue cover. I forget who it's by right now. And he did like a whole productivity thing and then, you know, got followers and got book deals because of that, so. Like, the thing about books too, even over blog posts, is that a book is a condensed piece of material where like authors went through it, publicists went through it, editors went through it to like condense. This is like state of the art of thinking at the moment. So that means in some ways blogs can be better because they are more fluid, but at the same time they are also more fluid. So you'd like, you know, I put less work into a blog post than I would into a book. So. This is a good one right here for you, Clement, if you're still around. That next book you read, come up with 1 to 10 actions that you're going to do. There's a podcast called Bookworm at bookworm.fm, I think. Yeah, Bookworm. And so one of the things that they do every time they go through, this is by Mike and Joe, who I know and like these guys. I was just on Joe's stream last week, I don't remember. It'll be coming out sometime in the future. It's April 30th today. So they talk about the action items they have every time too, so they actually do something with the knowledge. It's a good podcast. I listen to it and I use that as like a vetting process for some books so that I actually, you know, they read some books for me so I don't have to, which is nice. Now do it. Is they want to create a productivity? No, download his free guide. I'm not going to download your free guide. Yeah. I'm not going to fix this. Okay, I'm going to fix this because that's super annoying and I can't finish what I'm going to do. That's a bug in craft right now, which is super annoying. I should check later if it's been reported or not. Reading well. 5 simple tips. Boom. Summary. Successful people read, but they also take notes and action on they've done. And you're seeing this in action right here, even like where I'm saying, where I'm like literally, you're watching me write this, and I'm saying, like I'm taking notes on the book, I'm summarizing it at the end so that when I come back to it, I have an idea. So I'm basically doing exactly what this author has said to do. Right? Take notes on your books, take notes on what you're reading, and then dig in. That's it today. I got kids to watch and other stuff. My oldest daughter goes to skating soon, so that's it. Thanks for joining. Thanks for all your questions. I appreciate them. Gail, Clement, Neil, Martin. Oh, Tim with all the Apple trivia. That was good to know. I'm going to see. I should just unplug it now and find out since I'm no longer going to be streaming from my iPad. What is it at? It's still at 100%, and my date just updated. So there you go. Thanks for joining. I don't think we'll be doing next Friday because I got some other stuff to do. I've got a coaching meeting with some people on research, but I should be doing the Friday after. The book reading and book club, if you're in Discord, let's see, I can grab a Discord link right here quick. Discord, server settings, insights. Oh, hide media channels, nicknames, invite. Just grab a link. If you're in Discord, you want to join, or you want to be in Discord, paste. There you go. You can join there. If you want to join in Discord, we're reading The World Without Email by Cal Newport now. We'll be talking about that in about a month, so it's at the April, May, end of May-ish. Yeah, that's it. And Clement, I got one more. I guess I'm overthinking this because I've already got so much other stuff on my plate, but at the same time, nothing noteworthy ever happens from doing nothing. You're right. If you do nothing, nothing will happen. Very true. Very true. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. You're all awesome. Now I've got to go tweak my things lists because I totally messed up on what I was supposed to be recording today. Have a good one.